The night was colder than usual, the kind of night where silence crawls into every corner and reminds you of everything you've lost. In the dim light of a flickering lantern, an old man sat alone, his hands trembling, not only from age but from the weight of a truth too heavy to carry. He had lived his entire life for one reason, one dream, one hope, his son. And yet, that very son had become the reason for his greatest heartbreak. Life had never been kind to the old man. Poverty followed him like a shadow. Every sunrise brought hunger, and every sunset carried exhaustion. But he never complained. Because when his son was born, his world changed. From that moment, his own life didn't matter anymore. Every sacrifice, every drop of sweat, every moment of suffering, he carried them all with a smile, because in his heart he believed, one day, my son will live a life I could never touch. The boy grew up running barefoot through the muddy fields, chasing dragonflies, laughing without a care in the world. Neighbors mocked the old man, saying, "Your son runs wild in the dirt while you starve. What good will come of it?" But the father only looked at his boy and thought, "These little feet will one day walk into a future brighter than mine." The sacrifices began small. When the boy asked for sweets, the father gave up his own meal. On winter nights, when the air cut through his thin clothes, the father slept without a blanket so his son could stay warm. And as the boy grew, so did his needs. The father worked harder. When the boy asked for books, the old man labored long hours in the fields, carrying loads heavier than his body could bear, until his palms split open. But when he returned home with new books for his son, the pain disappeared. When the boy wanted shoes, the father sold his own pair and walked barefoot on burning soil. The villagers shook their heads. "Why torture yourself? Children forget." But the father only smiled and whispered, "A father's love is not an investment. It is a gift." Then came the day his son wished for a bicycle. The price was too high. That night, the father made his choice. He sold his cow, the only source of milk, his last real possession. And when he placed that red bicycle in his son's hands, the boy's laughter filled the house like sunlight. The father went to bed hungry that night, but his heart was full. Years passed. His son's dreams grew too big for the village. He wanted to study in the city. The father had no money, no land to spare. But love does not stop at limits. He borrowed, he pawned, he sold. He worked through sickness, he endured hunger, and he paid every cost. When the boy left for the city, the father's eyes filled with tears. He stood at the bus station and whispered, "Go, my son. Take my life with you. Become what I could never be." At first, the letters came. Beautiful, hopeful letters. "Dear father, I will make you proud. I will build you a house. I will give you peace." The old man carried those letters in his pocket, reading them under the weak lantern light, smiling through tears. But slowly, the letters stopped coming. The visits became rare. At last, silence replaced promises. The father still waited at the post office, still sat by the road, still defended his son when the villagers mocked him. "He is busy," he said softly. "He will return." And he did return once, but not the same. The boy wore city clothes, spoke city words, carried city pride. He looked at the small house and frowned. "Why do you still live like this, father? These walls, this dirt floor, it's embarrassing." The father's lips trembled. He wanted to say, "This house carried your childhood. These walls held your laughter. This floor bore your first steps." But he stayed silent, his eyes soft, his heart breaking. Soon after, the son came again, but this time with demand. "Father, I want to start a business. I need money. Sell the land." The father froze. That land was not just soil. It was his bloodline, his memory, his only anchor to life. But the son's sharp voice crushed him. That night, the old man whispered to himself, "What is land compared to my son's future?" And so he sold it. Every acre, every tree, every memory. He handed the money to his son, who left again without a hug, without a thank you, only a promise. "Father, once I succeed, I will take you with me. You will never suffer again." But years passed, and the promise never came true. The old man's house crumbled, his body weakened, his stomach often empty. Still, he waited. Until one day, A villager returned from the city and spoke without knowing his words were knives. "I saw your son. He is rich now, owns shops, rides cars. But when asked about you, he said, 'I owe nothing to that poor old man. I built myself.'" The old man's heart shattered. His breath grew heavy, his chest tight. For the first time in his life, he felt truly abandoned. That night he sat in silence, tears soaking the dust beneath his feet. And in that silence, something changed. Love did not die, but it hardened. A storm began to rise. Not of hate, but of truth. A storm called revenge. But his revenge was not rage. It was patient, deliberate, and silent. He gathered the letters his son had written, the receipts of sacrifices made, the witnesses who had seen his hunger, his bleeding hands, his sold land, his pawned life. Piece by piece, he collected the truth. And when the perfect moment came, he was ready. His son was invited to a grand gathering in the city. A glittering hall filled with leaders, businessmen, and villagers. The son stood tall, speaking of his self-made journey. The crowd applauded. And then the doors opened. The old man entered, frail but steady. Silence fell. He did not shout, did not curse. He walked slowly, his eyes locked on his son. With a voice trembling yet sharp, he said, "You call yourself self-made. But tell me, my son, who fed you when you were hungry? Who walked barefoot so you could wear shoes? Who sold his land, his life, his soul, so you could stand here today?" The crowd stirred. The son's smile faltered. The father raised the letters. "These are your words. Promises you once made. Promises you broke. And now, the world will know the truth." Murmurs filled the hall. Business partners whispered, "If he betrayed his father, how can we trust him?" The son's empire of pride began to collapse, not with violence, but with truth. The father turned to leave, but before walking out, he spoke one last time. "Remember, my son, wealth fades, pride falls, but betrayal leaves a wound that never heals. You had a father who gave you everything. And now, the world knows how you repaid him." He walked into the night, his steps slow but his heart free. For the first time in years, he was no longer broken. Back in the hall, his son stood frozen, his reputation shattered, his heart pierced with shame. He wanted to run after his father, to beg forgiveness, but the weight of truth chained him to the stage. The old man did not seek to destroy his son. He sought only to reclaim his dignity, to let the truth speak. And in that moment, his revenge was complete. Not revenge of hatred, but revenge of justice. And as the years passed, the old man lived quietly, but with peace restored. The villagers no longer saw him as a weak man waiting endlessly, but as a symbol, a reminder that truth, no matter how long delayed, always finds its voice. And when he finally left this world, he left not in despair, but in dignity. Because his revenge was not destruction. His revenge was truth. And truth never dies. So remember this. Never forget the hands that fed you, the shoulders that carried you, the heart that broke for you. Betrayal may bring you pride for a while, but truth will always rise. Respect your parents, honor their sacrifices, and never let arrogance blind you. Because in the end, the greatest revenge is not hatred, it is the truth revealed.